For the last 7 years, Mazda has given this to us. This is the Mazda 3 Turbo. But a long time ago, they had something a little bit different, but rather similar. And I've been really familiar with that platform for the last 10 years, while this car has gained popularity in the modern day. I'm going to be comparing this with what Mazda once had 10 years ago. This right here is my second gen MazdaSpeed 3. And we are going to be comparing both of these cars to see if the 4th generation Mazda 3 Turbo, which is almost the same car, over the next half a year to a year, we're going to compare these two cars stock for stock and a little bit of modifications to see if the Mazda 3 Turbo can live up to the name of the forgotten MazdaSpeed 3, and if Mazda should bring back the MazdaSpeed 3 name in the modern day Mazda 3. The MazdaSpeed 3 community is enthusiastic about those cars. I've been within around the community for the last 10 years between the first and second generations, and even the Mazda 3s and the MazdaSpeed 3s, and I've seen it all. It's the fastest hot hatch basically Mazda has ever been made. And then when Ford cut ties with Mazda back in 2013, that was the last we ever saw of it, and that was basically the last we ever saw of a performance car come out of Mazda. The MazdaSpeed 3 is special. It was a 6-speed manual. It pretty much was almost the fastest hot hatch of that time back in 2007. I mean, the power numbers that came out of this thing in that time were insane. It had an LSD in the front and it handled like it rode on rails. And that's really cool to hear, that people really love these cars for what they are, and if someone knows what it is, they appreciate it. Well, that was all left behind in 2013. Now enters the Mazda 3 Turbo, which was released in 2021. And this is my 2023 Mazda 3 Turbo. This car offered a 2.5 liter turbocharged engine with the engine and transmission based out of the CX-9, which means this car only came in an automatic 6-speed and not a performance automatic. So when you put this up to modern day comparison, it is the slower automatic out of the hot hatch bunch, which really raised the question, was, is this a hot hatch, or was this just a comfortable car that Mazda decided to put a little bit more power into to kind of put it into that market? It was kind of shot down and never really saw, a promising future in the enthusiast or performance segments. The thing is, Mazda hasn't made a modern day car that has been performance based besides the Miata. Mazda 3 Turbo also gained all-wheel drive, so you had a turbocharged all-wheel drive car that almost matched the 0 to 60 that the MazdaSpeed 3 put out in its best times. Regardless, we have two different cars, one that could be seen as Mazda's modern day hot hatch, but just doesn't really feel like it. We also have a icon from early 2000s that Mazda left behind in the dust. I'm going to be comparing both these cars in 3 different variants: speed, handling, and general, driving and how it feels as an enthusiast and kind of daily driver sort of. I'm going to be doing most of this testing as with these cars stock for stock. Now, my MazdaSpeed 3 is modified. It's fully bolted on right now, and I need you guys to let me know if there's anything important that I need to do with this car before I do revert it back to stock and can start comparing these cars stock for stock. Now, the most important part of these tests is to basically test these cars, like I said, stock for stock, the way that they came from factory. The Mazda 3 Turbo kind of, falls off higher in the RPM range, but the MazdaSpeed 3 also has its first and second gear limiter. So there's kind of limitations between both these cars stock for stock that I think are going to be really interesting. But once we tune these cars, that's going to change and things will get a little bit different. Suspension mods and everything make these cars feel different, drive different. But the most important things that we are going to test on these cars are drag strip times and track times. I'm not going to track this car modified because I don't want to run the risk. It's a little older, but I am going to attempt to track this car stock. I'm going to track this car stock. I'm going to do drag runs on this car stock and drag runs on this car stock. Now, I will probably be doing suspension mods on this and then tracking this car as well, but I need you guys to let me know if there's anything else that I can test to put these on a playing field and see if we can get this as the modern day MazdaSpeed 3. So we're just gonna go for a quick drive in both cars and kind of see what is going down in these and kind of get a general feel of how they feel right now. This thing, I think, is designed around, Mazda's current design language. Ultra refined. This thing is very, very comfortable. It is pretty fast off the line. That's one thing to consider, is we got an all-wheel drive in this thing. This thing's paired with an automatic transmission. I'm gonna pop it into sport mode and I'm just gonna go at it. It gets down. I can't lie to you guys. It really gets going. So I think that's one strong feature of this car, is we have the all-wheel drive and we have an insane amount of torque. I think this car is higher in torque than the Speed is from factories. As for handling, well, these tires suck on this car, I'm not gonna lie. So one really important thing I'm gonna do between both the cars is I'm gonna try and share one set of wheels with decent tires, because these factory tires do suck. Now I will do some testing on these tires just to, you know, show what's going down, but that won't be part of the MazdaSpeed 3 comparison. I do have a bone to pick with the transmission and the handling with this car. Again, that's gonna be kind of in another separate video where I go over, you know, one of my biggest pet peeves with this car. As for handling goes, in sweepers, it does feel a little boaty, and it kind of the same situation with the Speed 3 on factory suspension, where it's really stiff when you're riding and you can really feel all the bumps in the road, and then when you go around a corner, it gets a little droopy. I think these cars are in need of a rear sway bar. When you're going around a corner and getting into it, because it's so torquey, I find it really sucks in on the back rear wheel of whatever corner you're taking. Develops a little bit of understeer, and then when you let off the throttle, it lurches you forward, and it's kind of a little weird. I think we can figure that out. Regardless, this thing is very comfortable to hop into, go to work in the morning, and I have no complaints about that at all. It's going to be really weird getting into my MazdaSpeed 3 because I haven't driven that car in like 3 weeks. And I mean, that thing's full bolt-ons, it's loud, and it's got coilovers in it. So let's go hop into that car and see what's going down. Now we're in the big dog. MazdaSpeed 3, it's a different character. This is a totally different car. I mean, you gotta think about it. They had the Mazda 3 as well that they were selling at the time, that they were selling the MazdaSpeed 3. So now I can't compare it. This is fully bolted on, it's got coilovers, it's loud, it makes really, really great noises. However, because of the way this car is set up, the Mazda 3 Turbo is the better daily driver. I totally, to be honest with you, forget how this car is to drive stock, so that'll be interesting. Once we revert, I will get a bit of a feel again to how that is. Just setting off, big pops. I'm not gonna lie, with the stiff motor mounts and everything, I really do like being able to feel the car again. So we know that the Mazda 3 Turbo is the more comfortable daily driver. We do know that the MazdaSpeed 3 is the more enthusiastic driver. Performance-wise, can the Mazda 3 Turbo become what this car is right now? Speed-wise, handling-wise, I mean, this thing shreds on corners. The thing is, this car right now would whip the Mazda 3 Turbo up into shape. And that's what I want the Mazda 3 Turbo to turn out like. I'm really interested to see what both these cars, full bolt-ons, are like, how different they are to each other, but how they compete in like the same way to each other. Oh man, I'm not sure we'll get that that same experience out of the Mazda 3 Turbo. We might go that fast, but I'm not sure about that. That was like I was holding on for dear life. Well, here are our two competitors, the Mazda 3 Turbo and the MazdaSpeed 3. If I had to give an early prediction on what I think each car would excel in, I think the Mazda 3 Turbo is going to excel in its 0 to 60 times for sure. Maybe kind of like poles. I'm not sure. If we can fix that torque dip, then it might work out, because the MazdaSpeed 3 is a demon once it gets going in third and fourth. So that'll be really interesting. I think honestly I can get these cars to handle pretty similar. It's going to be interesting. Those are my early predictions. I can't tell how it's going to turn out, but that is what we're going to end up by finding out. With that being said, whose side are you on? I am not siding with either. I like an underdog story, but the MazdaSpeed 3 is kind of an underdog, but not in this situation. I mean, this is the performance car here, so I mean, if we kind of get this thing on par with this, I mean, that's a pretty good fight. I'm really excited to get started on this competition. So now that we've kind of got the intro of the Mazda 3 Turbo out of the way, we can start kind of digging into it and start doing some other things. I have a few parts for it already in. Getting the MazdaSpeed 3 to the track is going to be like different times as getting the Mazda 3 Turbo to the track. So we'll start comparing them a little bit later on. I just have to get to the track first. So, and then we also have to stock the Speed 3 out. And I got to make sure I do things with that car before I stock it out. A lot of things that are going on. It's crazy right now. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you guys are excited, make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a like. Other than that, guys, keep it real. I'll see y'all in the next one.